Welcome back, I'm David Gibbons. Now we cross to Lyle Shelton in Canberra for an update on Australian politics. Welcome back to the program, Lyle.
Good to be with you again, David.
Lyle, I understand a euthanasia bill was recently defeated in South Australia. So how closely was this issue contested?
Well, David, it was expected to be close. Just 12 months ago, the South Australian Parliament considered yet another Greens bill on euthanasia, and it was defeated by just one vote on that occasion. Now, this time around, no one really knew what was going to happen, but at the end of the day, when it was put to the vote, it was lost on the voices. Now, anyone who follows parliamentary procedure will know that normally a division is called, but it was clear that those who were pushing for euthanasia, the Greens principally, knew that they'd lost and they were beaten, and so they didn't even call for a division. So this is certainly good news in terms of the euthanasia debate in this country.
It seems that euthanasia bills keep being introduced into state parliaments. Is it inevitable that euthanasia will eventually be legalised in Australia?
David, I think this South Australian bill will spell the death knell, and the pun there is very much intended to the euthanasia debate. Hopefully the Greens will finally get the message. They've been relentless on this issue over the past 2 years. They've put this up in state parliaments 5 times in 4 states in 2 years, and they've currently got a bill in the federal parliament. Now, it's our hope that they will get the message that when politicians carefully consider this issue, as they've done in all of these state jurisdictions, at the expense of much parliamentary time, that when it's considered carefully, politicians realise that this is dangerous legislation. It puts the vulnerable in our society at risk, and they run a mile from it.
You mentioned the federal scene, Lyle. Are there any ramifications for the federal parliament where the issue of euthanasia is also being looked at?
Yes, I believe there are. This sends a big message to Senator Bob Brown and to the federal Greens that euthanasia, when properly considered, is not a goer. And the Greens are trying to, through the Senate, put up a bill that would allow the Northern Territory and the ACT, which are very small legislatures, to legislate for euthanasia. Now, I think this will send a big message to federal parliamentarians that enough is enough. This has been considered well and truly by state politicians, and there's no need for this to be considered further at a federal level. So I hope that next year when Parliament resumes, it will be firmly rejected, as it has been these 5 times in the past 2 years at state level.
Now, moving to New South Wales, the state government recently announced it would be rolling out ethics classes in primary schools across the state next year, despite church opposition. So is this likely to affect scripture classes?
Yes, this is a big threat to scripture classes, because the way the government has constructed this at the behest of the St James Ethics Centre is that the ethics classes will compete directly with scripture in schools, which has been running for over 100 years. And we certainly don't want to see any further diminution of the place of scripture and religious education, and so we're very concerned about this.
I understand, Lyle, that the opposition has committed to scrapping ethics classes if it wins office at the March state election. Is that commitment likely to hold if the ethics classes are already underway before the poll?
Yes, it will. Barry O'Farrell, the Liberal leader who's likely to win the election by all indications, although anything can happen in politics, he's given a commitment that he will scrap the classes, and that will be whether or not the classes are running or not. So certainly welcome news, and that will safeguard scripture in the medium to long term.
Thanks for your time today, Lyle.
It's been a pleasure, David.